In this video, I want to show you a method that you can use in Skycut a lot, so that if you're using a pen or something in this Skycut pen holder, the pen marker holder that I came out with, if you're using a pen and the center of that pen is going, it's not going to be exactly in the same spot as, say, where your scoring tool would be, which is what you've already calibrated on your Skycut D. So what happens is, if you get ready to try to do an aligned, you're trying to draw something and then cut around it, you're going to get something that looks like what I've done in this photo, where I just did that. I just threw it in and I said, okay, let's draw with a pen and my marker holder and then cut it out. And so you end up with something like this. So instead, you kind of have a choice. You can go back and you can do a calibration on that pen and that holder, but then that messes up your calibration that you would have done with, say, the scoring tool. And so you'd have to redo that one the next time you put in your scoring tool. So instead, I came up with a method that you can use in Skycut a lot so that it actually will work. And that's what this video is all about. So here on the screen I have a flower. I've taken the flower and let's have a look at the layers. You'll see that I have two layers. I have the flower, which will be drawn with a pen, and then let's say a shadow layer, which would be the blade holder cutting around that drawn image. So now then, what's the next thing I need to do? Well, what you need to do, and it's kind of an interesting thing, it has to do with setting an origin. And in this particular process, what you're going to do is, after you do the drawing, the cutter's going to stop and you're going to set a new origin. And you're going to set a new origin using the camera on the Skycut. If you haven't learned how to do that, then let's see, what is the section for that one? That one is, let me come back up here. It is section 2.05.1 called Setting an Origin Using the Camera. And this assumes that you've already done your camera calibration. But when you use the camera on the cutter to set an origin, you can set a very precise origin, which is what you're going to need to do in this case. So this is the way the process works. Let's go back to our project. You need an alignment shape that's going to be drawn with your pen holder at the same time that it does the drawing. So to do that, you want to use like a little L shape so that you can place it right down at the very corner of the on-screen mat. And so I use the pen tool. So you click on this draw tool, click on it, and then hold the shift key, and you're going to left click, and then I'm going to come down so it's a perfectly vertical. And see, I'm still holding the shift key, so it's still perfectly vertical. So I come down, I do a little click here, and then I come over to the left, a little click here, and then I press the enter key. Okay, I'm going to do that again. Very easy. Hold the shift key, left click, go down, left click, to the left, left click. Okay, it's just 3 clicks. I'm holding the shift key the entire time. And then what that makes is, you'll see, is a little L shape. Okay, so I don't need 2 of these. Now then, the next thing is I need to move this so it's like right down here at the very corner of the mat. But again, I want to be very precise. So to do that, look at the size of your mat. Now in this case, I have a 12 by 12 mat. So over here on position and size, I make sure this corner, this lower right corner, is selected, and I'm going to place this at 12 and 12 inches. So now that I know that that little shape is perfectly aligned with the corner of the mat. Now then, this is important also. Remember that when you're actually doing your drawing, you're going to want to be like, make sure that that gets drawn on top of paper, or if it's not, then put a sticky note down or something, so that when it draws that shape, at whatever origin you originally start with, it's on top of paper, because you're going to need to be able to see it later. Is once you have one of these little shapes drawn, you might want to just save this as a template, and then just be able to always open this template and know that that shape is positioned right down there in that corner. That's entirely up to you. I am not that disciplined. I have a tendency to just recreate things from scratch all the time. But this is the way you would do it. You would just create that little L shape, put it in the corner, and save the file. So the next step is to get each of these layers assigned correctly before you attempt to do your project. So I'm going to pop out the style panel here, and then I'm also going to pop out the fill and stroke panel. Okay, so looking at this, let's start with the top one. Let's start with the little shape that we just created. That needs to be drawn with the tool, with the pen that you're using on the right hand side. So I'm going to change that from cut to draw, and I'm going to make it the right hand side. Then I'm also going to look, if you look down here, it assigns a pen color, and that's something else you want to watch out. If I'm going to be drawing everything with just a single pen, except for the cut line, I need to make sure everything has the same pen color, or else it's going to be pausing. Because the way we have to do this, we have to make sure the machine pauses before it cuts so we can reset the origin. So it's easier if you're going to be doing everything with a single pen color to make sure everything has the same stroke color assigned. So that's what I'm going to do. Over here on the stroke, I've got pen color, I've got that assigned. Well, let's just change it to just say black. That'd just be easier if I make it all black. So I've got that assigned to black. Then up here on my the flower tool, I need to do the same thing here. Now it has, you'll notice that it shows like just a straight line. That means that each one of these has a separate pen color. See, if when I select just the center of the flower, it has a yellow, and then the outside flower has a red. So I'm going to change both of those just to black also. Pen color, and let's make it black. So now then it's the same. So now then it's, when it gets ready to execute this, it's going to draw the flower, it's going to draw that L shape, then it'll pause. I can reset the origin and then just do the final cut layer, execute that after I've set the origin. So that just kind of makes it simpler. All right, so now then once I have those set to go, I'm ready to go into the, one more thing, oops, almost forgot. On this flower, on the style panel, I need to change it to draw also, and then change it to the right hand side. Okay, now then, so drawing's on the right hand side, cutting's on the left hand side, I'm ready to go. So in the cutter window, now then again, as I mentioned before, I've set my origin on the machine. I've got a photo here to show you that I set my, it's based on the left hand side. The blade holder is kind of inward a little ways. You leave yourself some room for that, that little L shape to be drawn, so because you're going to be using that later. Or again, put down a sticky note. If it's over the map, put down a sticky note so it can draw on the sticky note. Then do your settings. One thing also I kind of want to mention, sometimes people, things nothing cuts or whatever. Always make sure you see something over here that looks like what you wanted to execute. So this, the left-hand side, yep, there's my shadow layer. That's what I want to see. Now then, when I switch over to the right-hand side, you'll see that I can see my flower here. I can't really see the L shape because it's going to be right in the very tippity-tip corner of this, this preview of the piece of paper, which is where I want it to be at the origin. But I can see that the flower is there. And then I make sure I get my settings. Make sure you're in WYSIWYG mode. That's important. If you're using software speed and pressure, go ahead and mark this box. Then make sure under holder you have pen selected, and I do. So then I can see, my flower here. Make sure you have pen. Draw lines, and then this is important. You need to have this prompt here, and you're having the prompt so that when it finishes drawing, it'll pause, and you can go over and change the origin for cutting. All right, then do your settings, whatever you want. I don't need 2 times. I'm going to just put that off in 37. And so then I'm ready to go. So when I click on cut, it pops up, and this is the pen color. Remember, I assigned everything as black. And you can even check up here and make sure, it says job 1 of 2. If I had left all those separate colors, right now it would say job 1 of 4. And so it would be pausing after it does the little cut line, that does a little L shape. It'd be pausing after it does the center of the flower, and then pausing again after the flower. And I just want to pause 1 time. So again, job 1 of 2, check that too. Then I can click on draw, and it's going to go over and it will draw, basically the L shape and the flower. And so here's a photo showing that the flower has indeed drawn, and you see the little L shape. Now then the next step is I'm going to use the camera on the cutter to set a new origin. And it's all going to be based on moving that blade holder into place, but don't worry about that. Just focus on just setting the origin on the cutter. So once I have those blue dashed lines going right through the middle of that corner of that reg mark, that L-shaped reg mark, once I achieve that, then I hit the home button. Don't hit the OK button again. Just, once you get exactly where you want it, press the home button, and then you have the origin set. Okay, so now then I'm ready to just, click on cut. And I don't have to change out since my blade holder is already in there. It's ready to go. I just click on cut, and then it's going to go and it's going to cut out the flower. And as you can see, perfect. Nicely cut out flower, everything's aligned, and so that's basically the technique. So if you have any questions, be sure and let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you at the Skycut Facebook group.